The grand hall is a chaotic clash of opulence and poor taste. Toad, resplendent in a self-designed purple velvet suit, barks orders at a team of perplexed woodland creatures who are poorly hanging streamers. Dick Spanner PI stands by, smoking a metaphorical cigarette, surveying the scene with world-weary cynicism. Daniel Nate is setting up a makeshift bar, looking utterly exhausted. Corky is attempting to lift a large ice sculpture of a swan, but keeps bumping his corkscrew head on the low-hanging chandelier. Dick Spanner PI, VO, Rye. Even the simple promise of I do gets complicated here. The air was thick with cheap satin and the faint, unsettling smell of Toad's certainty. This wedding, I figured, was less about matrimony and more about an opportunity for the local lowlifes to score free booze and maybe, if they were lucky, a cheap thrill. Toad, to a squirrel struggling with a banner. "Ha, you furry incompetent. It must achieve maximum elevation. This is not mere nuptials, Daniel. This is a social event, a celebration of my organizational genius." Daniel Nate, wiping down a glass. "Mr. Toad, with respect, I think maybe you should have checked if the couple wanted a medieval meets tropical disco theme. The laser lights feel a bit much for 11 a.m. Toad, nonsense. Charlie and Bethany are deeply indebted to me for offering Toad Hall. They said, and I quote, 'Toad, darling, do what you will, I intend to dazzle.'" Corky manages to secure the ice swan, slightly tilted. Corky, "Ice swan secure, Mr. Toad. Very cold." Toad, "Excellent." Corky, "Now, ensure the sound system delivers the requisite bass. I've programmed a medley of Wagner and early Scooter for the processional." Dick Spanner PI, the groom, Charlie, had the jittery look of a man who'd just realized he was about to sign a contract written in invisible ink. And the bride, Bethany, looked like she was planning her exit strategy before she'd even picked a veil. Joe Camel, Spuds MacKenzie, and Nat enter, dressed in suits that are slightly too tight, slightly too shiny, and totally inappropriate. Joe is polishing his sunglasses. Spuds is adjusting his paisley tie. Nat is preening his black mullet mohawk. Joe Camel, "Hey read, lads. Look sharp. Free drinks. Fresh meat. The Trinity, eh?" Spuds MacKenzie, loud, manic laugh. "Fresh meat, Joe. Like a butcher shop on a hot Saturday. We've got to establish dominance early, haven't we? Prenuptial flirting is the key to psychological warfare." Nat, "Yeah. Gotta get in there, innit? She's looking sharp. The bride. A challenge. A prize. That Charlie looks like a soggy biscuit. Easy pickings." Daniel Nate, "Gentlemen, let me remind you, this is a wedding. The bride is off limits. Seriously." Joe Camel, smoothly, "Relax, son. It's just reconnaissance. A friendly word here, a compliment there. We're just ensuring maximum happiness for all involved. Besides, look at the groom. He's already got his eye on the prize." Joe gestures towards Charlie, who is nervously pacing near the entrance. He is desperately trying to catch the eye of Constance, Cavi, and Carmel Bunny, who are arranging flowers with an air of sophisticated detachment. Charlie is sweating profusely into his morning suit. Charlie, muttering to himself, wow, look at the legs on the rabbit, and the duck. So many options. No, Charlie, focus. Bethany, marriage, taxes. Cavi, to Carmel, ignoring Charlie. These hydrangeas clash horribly with the synthetic fog. It makes me feel less aerodynamic. Carmel Bunny, sultry West Country drawl. "Ah, don't fret, dear. This whole place feels like a budget music video from 1987. Just keep breathing." Constance, bouncing slightly. "Ooh, look at how shiny his shoes are. They look almost edible." Charlie beams, taking this as a green light. Charlie, projecting too loudly. "They are Italian. Very supple leather. I actually have several pairs. Maybe later, I could show you my wingtips." The three women exchange a glance of profound disinterest. Dawdle, entering, holding a clipboard, looking severely stressed. Toad, "The seating chart is a nightmare. You've put Sfrand Kaz next to Aunt Margaret, and he keeps asking if the crockery is edible." Toad, "A strategic error." Dawdle, "Sfrand Kaz is excellent at breaking the ice. Or the chairs, as the case may be." Dawdle, "And you labeled the children's table as the pit of infinite misery." Toad, "It's irony. Nobody appreciates sophisticated whimsy anymore." A large, Beaten up white transit van pulls up outside Toad Hall. The door slams open. Jonathan, a hulking man in a perfectly pressed suit that seems to be fighting a losing battle against his immense musculature, steps out. His handlebar mustache is impressive and intimidating. He surveys the mansion with immediate disdain. Jonathan, right. This is where my little girl is throwing her life away. Looks like a bloody circus tent designed by a drunken wallpaper salesman. He strides in, completely ignoring the valet, a nervous field mouse. Inside, Bill Clutterbuck and Sam Payton are having a quiet word near the fireplace, supervising Pat Clifton, who is tidying a stray helium balloon. Bill Clutterbuck, I don't like the look of this, Sam. Too much velvet. It's unnatural. Sam Payton, slyly, Bill. The last time I saw a color scheme this bad, I was putting out a fire in a cheap nightclub. And that fireman's cork helmet I wear, more subtle than this. Jonathan spots Toad. Jonathan, you the fella paying for this monstrosity? Toad, beaming, extending a hand. I am Toad, the master of ceremonies and patron of this fine day. Welcome, esteemed father of the bride. Jonathan ignores the handshake, looking Toad up and down with critical severity. Jonathan, plumber, and I'm telling you now, your drainage system is compromised, and your upholstery looks like it was salvaged from a skip. Toad, a skip? Sir, this is Italian velvet. Jonathan, Italian or not, it's going to stain. My Bethany deserves better than a bachelor pad that smells faintly of mold and regret. Jonathan spots Charlie hovering near the Nagel-esque women. Jonathan, a low growl. And where's that nincompoop I'm meant to be handing my girl over to? There he is, flitting about like a diseased moth. Charlie catches his eye and immediately snaps to attention, his flirting forgotten. Charlie, Mr. Jonathan, good morning, sir. Everything is splendid, isn't it? Jonathan, splendid? You call this splendid? Don't talk to me about splendid, lad. I've seen better presentations at a council meeting. You remember what I said about hurting my daughter? Charlie, swallowing hard. Yes, sir. The head kicking. Definitely. Jonathan, good. Keep it in mind. Bethany enters, escorted by her mother and a nervous Aunt Margaret. Bethany looks beautiful but fragile, clutching her bouquet like a shield. Joe, Spuds, and Nat see her. The game is afoot. Joe Camel, puffing out some smoke. Right, that's the target. Smooth and casual, lads. Remember, we're poets. Spuds Mackenzie, poets? I thought we were just aggressively handsome. Nat, look at that dress. Proper fit, that is. Come on. They try to move towards her, but Jonathan is a wall of protective muscle. Jonathan, watching the trio suspiciously. Who are these greasy looking characters? Are they related to you? Charlie, no, sir. They are residents. Local color. Jonathan, they look like they should be arrested for loitering. Bethany manages a strained smile. Bethany, Dad, please, it's fine. Hello, everyone. Joe steps forward quickly, sliding past Jonathan's peripheral vision. Joe Camel, Bethany, my dear, I gotta say, even in that white dress, you shine brighter than the midday sun over the Tyne. Class. Absolute class. Bethany, confused. Thank you. Jonathan, eyes narrowing. Get away from my daughter. Geordie riffraff. Joe Camel, just paying a compliment, mate. No need to get your spanners in a twist. Spuds darts in from the other side. Spuds Mackenzie, twist? Don't talk about twisting. You look magnificent. Bethany, you look like a whole damn carnival of joy. Listen, I know a guy who can get you half-price tickets to an offshore oil rig tour. Perfect honeymoon. Just look into my eyes. Bethany, taking a step back. I have a fiancé. Spuds Mackenzie, details. Mere details. Life is about the moment. Grab it by the throat and kiss it. Jonathan grabs Spuds by the shoulder, his grip like a vice. Jonathan, get your hands off the bride, you mangy street dog. You got 5 seconds to stop selling tat and start running. Spuds yelps, scrambling away. Nat takes his opportunity, leaning in dramatically. Nat, love, forget these blokes. They ain't got the flair. You need a real man. Someone who can rock the house. I got a gig later. You should come. We can talk about existential dread over a pint of brown ale. You're proper fit. You are. Bethany, whispering to Charlie. Charlie, Who are these people? Charlie, his attention already wandering back to Constance. Oh, just local fauna, darling. Ignore them. Jonathan has had enough. He kicks a nearby decorative urn, filled with plastic flowers, in Nat's direction. Jonathan, I warned you about the presentation, Toad, and I'm warning you three about the flirting. If I see one more suspicious sideways glance, someone's getting a boot to the jaw. Toad, fussing. Dear me, Jonathan, that urn held significant sentimental value. Please, everyone to their seats. The ceremony must commence before the ambience is ruined by pugilism. The residents of Rye are packed into the makeshift ceremony space. Godfrey the horse is standing at the back, looking profoundly miserable. Barney is trying to find a good vantage point, accidentally knocking over a small stack of prayer books. Super Ted floats in, observing the crowd. Super Ted, to Pat Clifton. Pat, this seems highly volatile, even for Rye. The energy is quite negative. I sense much repressed aggression. Pat Clifton. Super Ted. Jonathan's got the look of a man who hasn't had a good scrap in weeks. We might be needed for crowd control. Godfrey, muttering. Another tragedy masked by cheap champagne and inflated egos. I told them this marriage was doomed. They never listened to the talking horse. Never. Sfrandkaz sits next to Uncle Jeff, trying to stealthily pick up the small silk flower arrangement. Sfrandkaz, Russian accent. Uncle, is this protein? It looks like sad green moss. Uncle Jeff, terrified. Keep that away from your mouth, mate. They are decorations. Sfrandkaz, decorations. So, not for internal consumption. Very confusing. This modern world. The Wagner scooter medley booms through the hall. Bethany walks down the aisle, trying desperately not to trip over Barney's outstretched paw. Toad stands at the altar, ready to officiate, having briefly Googled how to perform a wedding. Toad, welcome, welcome, friends, family, and creditors. We are gathered here today to witness the union of Charlie, a man whose taste in footwear is almost as exquisite as mine, and Bethany, a woman who has clearly settled for less. But who are we to judge? Jonathan clenches his fists. Aunt Margaret gasps. Toad, now, before we proceed to the formal declarations, I must perform my duty as host and mention the many generous gifts the happy couple will be receiving from me, including a highly experimental automated lawnmower and 3 crates of vintage, slightly fizzy ginger beer. Bethany, quietly to Charlie, can we just do the vows, please? Charlie, staring over her shoulder at Kathy. Right. Vows. Love. Loyalty. Definitely loyalty. Toad presses on with the vows, reading from a scroll he accidentally grabbed instead of the script. Toad. Charlie, do you take Bethany to be your lawfully wedded co-pilot, partner in crime, and principal investor in your next ill-advised business venture? Charlie, I do. He winks conspicuously at Carmel. Jonathan, muttering, he's winking at the rabbit. I saw that. The cheeky bastard. Toad, Bethany, do you take this man, despite the obvious indicators of his deeply flawed character and questionable ethics, to be your husband and chief emotional support animal? Bethany, faintly, I do. It is time for the rings. Corky, the designated ring bearer, steps forward. He is holding the small velvet cushion with intense concentration. Joe, Spuds, and Nat choose this moment to execute their most direct flanking maneuver. They approach Bethany from the edges of the row. Joe Camel, leaning low. You know, you deserve gold that shines as bright as your future. Maybe we could discuss investments? Spuds Mackenzie, whispering loud enough for several rows to hear. Marriage is just a contract, darling. A temporary, boring contract. Break free. I'll take you to the seaside. Nat, grabbing a small flower from the bouquet. Forget the ring, love. Wear this. Black is more slimming anyway. Seriously, you're too good for this chump. Charlie, oblivious, is now standing close enough to Constance to inhale her perfume. Charlie, to Constance, you smell like fresh citrus and philosophical disappointment. I find that very intriguing. Constance, giggles. Oh, I think that's just the orange juice I spilled this morning. Corky, distracted by the rising noise, suddenly trips over Barney's tail. The rings soar through the air. Corky, oops, sorry. The small band of gold plummets, landing with a distinct clink sound directly into the open, full flask Jonathan is secretly holding. Silence. Jonathan slowly closes the flask cap. His face is a mask of thunderous fury. Jonathan. Loudly. Vibrating. Right. That's it. Stop this. Toad. Stop. But the ceremony is almost. Jonathan. To Toad. I've been trying to be patient. I have. But this whole thing is a bloody laughing stock. The presentation is rubbish. Toad. Rubbish? I hired a harpist. Jonathan. I saw her playing the theme tune to the A-Team. The lights flashing like a cheap disco. And these three, he points at Joe, Spuds, and Nat, are treating my daughter like she's a prize in a pub quiz. Joe Camel. We meant no disrespect, mate. Just assessing the situation. Like. Jonathan. And you, Charlie. You're getting married. Yet you're practically dry humping the daycare. Look at you. Sweating all over your collar while you're trying to chat up the barefooted glamour model and the damn rabbit. Charlie shrinks. Utterly busted. Charlie. It was just small talk. About weather patterns. Kathy. Calmly. He was discussing the historical context of my high-waisted shorts. Not the weather. And he called my feet distractingly sensual, which I wrote down. For later use in a restraining order. Jonathan. Roaring. Distractingly sensual. I'm going to kick your head in right here. Charlie. Get the rings out of my flask. Bethany. Tearfully. Please, Dad. Just let us finish. Super Ted. Floating down gently. Peace. Jonathan. We must employ calm communication. Violence is never the answer. Jonathan. Get out of my face. Flying teddy bear. This is about integrity. And protecting my little girl from philandering buffoons. Dick Spanner P.I. VO. The heat was on. The father of the bride was a ticking time bomb. And Charlie was already running on borrowed time. It was the kind of messy situation that usually ended with concrete shoes or a very large plumbing bill. Dawdle. Intervening sternly. Right. Everyone calm down. Charlie and Bethany. You are married. Toad. Say the final words. Toad. Oh. Yes. By the power vested in me by myself, I now pronounce you potentially married. You may now proceed to the reception and attempt to forget this whole dreadful affair. Bethany bursts into tears. Charlie grabs her hand and practically drags her toward the exit, hoping to escape his future father-in-law's wrath. Jonathan, shaking his fist after Charlie. I'm watching you, lad. Every single breath. The reception is where the real judgment begins. The reception is being held at the Three Gables pub. Daniel Nate is behind the bar, looking like a man who has seen too much and will soon see much more. The atmosphere is tense. The wedding guests, the few normal relatives, sit miserably at one end, sipping lukewarm sparkling wine. The Rye residents are congregating near the free bar. Trip, the skeletal skater, is setting up his DJ equipment in the corner, playing something aggressively upbeat and slightly mismatched for a wedding. Daniel Nate, to himself, polishing glasses. 6 months ago, I was worried about mortgage rates and which parent was going to pick up my daughter from nursery. Now I'm tending bar for a drunken barbarian and a talking badger while the father of the bride plots assault. This is what a coma does to you. Sam Payton, standing by the bar, pint of best bitter. Daniel, looks like you'll be needing to keep your head clear, boy. Daniel Nate, I'm running out of tonic water. Sam, this is going to get ugly fast. Bill Clutterbuck, sipping sherry. They're loading up. Daniel, Joe's already on his third whiskey and Spuds looks like he's ready to start climbing the curtains. Joe, Spuds, and Nat are indeed drinking heavily, exchanging aggressive strategies. Charlie is hovering near the corner where Kathy, Constance, and Carmel are now sitting, trying to appear nonchalant while visibly twitching. Carmel Bunny, taking a slow sip of her drink. He's like a moth, isn't he? Just circling the heat lamp, waiting to get singed. Constance, he's going to ask me to dance. I hope he knows how to waltz. Do you think he knows I'm a duck? Kathy, he doesn't care if you're a duck, an abstract expressionist painting, or a filing cabinet. Constance, he just sees opportunity. Charlie finally makes his move, approaching their table. Charlie, ladies, may I just say, this reception is much better than the ceremony, and you three are certainly the jewel in the crown of my joyous occasion. Kathy, your wife is sitting over there. Charlie, she looks upset. Charlie, oh, Bethany, she just gets overly emotional about tradition. We're modern. We're open. We appreciate visual stimuli. Charlie, leaning toward Carmel. Carmel, you have the most beautiful, expressive nose I've ever seen on a mammal. Carmel Bunny, West Country accent, dry as dust. Bless your heart, Charlie. That's the line that really sealed the deal. Meanwhile, the bride flirting squad is gearing up. They have moved closer to Bethany, who is trying to ignore them while speaking to her horrified Aunt Margaret. Joe Camel, slipping up behind Bethany. You look like you need rescue. Pet, let Joe show you the way to a good time. Skip the speeches. Nat, bumping Joe aside. Nah, forget the speeches. Let's get you a real tune. He yells at Trip. Skeleton, play some proper punk. Trip, from the DJ booth. Glaswegian accent. Away and bile yeah head. Pal, this is my set. I'm creating a dynamic sonic journey. Spuds MacKenzie, sliding onto the bench next to Bethany. Don't listen to these Neanderthals. See, marriage is like a pair of shoes, right? Eventually, you want to kick them off and run barefoot through a field of dreams. I know fields. I know dreams. I know feet. Aunt Margaret, to Bethany, horrified. Who is this filthy creature, and why is he talking about feet? Bethany, he's a local hustler. Auntie, Aunt Margaret, he needs fumigation. Jonathan watches this entire spectacle from the corner, his handlebar mustache twitching ominously. He is nursing a pint, but his eyes are fixed on Charlie's blatant disloyalty. Jonathan, he's doing it. He's actually doing it. He's going to get the full works. Toad, slightly drunk, decides it's time for the first dance. He grabs the microphone. Toad, attention, residents. It is time for the traditional merging of souls, the first dance. Charlie, Bethany, waltz, jitterbug, or perhaps a spirited polka. Charlie, focused entirely on impressing Constance with his knowledge of early 90s house music, barely hears him. Charlie, to Constance, you know, I could teach you a few moves, if we found ourselves alone. Constance, ooh, a secret lesson. How naughty. Bethany walks stiffly onto the dance floor alone. Bethany, Charlie, we're supposed to dance. Charlie, waving dismissively, just a minute, darling. I'm cultivating a dynamic rapport here. Sfrandkaz, having consumed 4 jugs of what he thought was fruit punch but was actually Daniel's extra strong spiked cocktail mix, stumbles onto the floor. Sfrandkaz, jovially stumbling, dance. Barbarian must dance. Where is music with strong rhythm of battle axe? He grabs Bethany's hand and attempts a complex Russian folk dance, spinning her violently. Bethany, dizzy. Oh, dear God. Joe Camel, to Spuds. Right. Get the barbarian off her. That's our territory. Spuds MacKenzie, hyping himself up. I'm going in. Tactical intervention. Spuds jumps onto the dance floor, attempting a flashy breakdance move that ends with him sliding headfirst into Sfrandkaz's leg. Sfrandkaz, tiny white dog man attacks Barbarian's leg. Was this part of ritual? Charlie laughs from the safety of the women's table. Charlie, look at those idiots. So uncivilized. He reaches out and brazenly touches Kathy's shoulder. Charlie, you deserve less chaos. Beautiful one. You deserve me. Kathy slowly turns her head, her expression deadly calm. Kathy, if you do not remove your hand from my person, Charlie, I will ensure that the only suit you wear for the next 6 months is a plaster cast. Charlie, stammering, pulling back, just a friendly gesture. Jonathan sees the shoulder touch. He sees his daughter being spun by a drunk gummy bear brute. He sees the pathetic attempts of the 3 womanizers. And he sees Charlie's complete lack of regard for the woman he just married. A vein throbs visibly on his temple. Jonathan, to Uncle Jeff. That's my signal. He's crossed the line. Uncle Jeff. Jonathan, please, think of the deposit on the catering. Jonathan ignores him. He puts down his pint, rolls up his cuffs, revealing massive forearms. He strides purposefully across the floor, clearing the path between the flirts, the barbarian, and the groom. Jonathan reaches Charlie first, grabbing the groom by the lapels of his expensive morning suit. Jonathan, you little worm. You swore an oath 30 minutes ago, and you're already trying to get lucky with a rabbit. Charlie, whining. She's very attractive. What am I supposed to do? Jonathan, you're supposed to honor my daughter. You're supposed to focus on your wife. Jonathan hauls Charlie up and slams him down onto the table with the discarded wedding cake. Jonathan, this is for all the insults, the bad presentation, and the disrespect. Jonathan pulls back his foot, the boot gleaming. In one sudden, horrifying motion, he executes a perfectly aimed, powerful, plumber's kick directly into Charlie's skull. A sickening crack echoes through the three gables. Charlie slides off the table, unconscious and slightly embedded in the 3 tiers of sponge and icing. Silence. Then, chaos erupts. Aunt Margaret, screaming, "Oh, good heavens. He's killed the groom." Bethany, a strange mixture of shock and relief. Charlie, Joe, Spuds, and Nat see their opportunity to engage in a proper fight. Joe Camel, right. Geordie rules. Scrap in time, lads. Spuds Mackenzie, physical theater. Let's show this old man what real mayhem looks like. Joe lunges at Jonathan, swinging a clumsy punch. Jonathan catches his arm and twists, sending Joe staggering into a stack of chairs. Nat charges Jonathan. Jonathan ducks and throws a vicious elbow, connecting with Nat's punk rock jaw. Nat hits the floor, dazed. Spuds tries to jump on Jonathan's back, but Jonathan shrugs him off into the path of the still spinning Svrandkaz. Svrandkaz, still dancing. More small men. They wish to join Dance of Warrior. Svrandkaz scoops up Spuds and whirls him around, using him as an improvised flail, scattering the normal relatives. The fight is general and instantaneous. Tables are overturned. Toad tries to intervene, but only manages to get snagged in a stray tablecloth. Toad, stop. You'll ruin the veneer. This is not acceptable revelry. Corky, seeing his friends fighting, enters the fray. He doesn't want to hurt anyone, but he wants to help. He grabs a heavy chair and attempts to block Svrandkaz's flailing arc. Corky, gentle fighting. Svrandkaz smacks the chair aside, barely noticing. Corky is knocked back, landing near the DJ booth. Trip, watching Corky land. Ye big soft lump. Right, I'm getting involved. Time for a proper Scottish riot. Trip grabs his skateboard and slides into the melee, using the board to trip up Joe Camel, who was trying to crawl away. Joe Camel, man, that's cheating. You skinny git. Dick Spanner PI. VO. It was a beautiful mess. A symphony of broken crockery and shattered dreams. The humans were screaming, the animals were brawling, and I was just trying to remember if I had enough battery life to transcribe this madness. Bethany's Aunt Margaret tries to call the police on her phone, but Barney, seeking fame and a piece of the action, jumps up and steals the handset, thinking it's a microphone. Barney, barking into the phone, "Attention, world. I am Barney, and I am starring in this spectacular public disturbance. Hire me. Aunt Margaret, the dog stole my cellular device." Sam Payton and Pat Clifton try to separate Jonathan and Joe, who are locked in a vicious grapple near the buffet table. Sam Payton, come on, Jonathan, bark. Enough of this. Think of the state of the soup tureens. Jonathan, panting, he insulted my daughter. He needs to pay for his moral degeneracy. Pat Clifton, Joe, let go of his tie. You'll choke him. Joe Camel, he kicked my competition. Geordie Pride, man. Super Ted uses his powers to attempt to calm the situation, flying around and generating small bursts of cosmic dust, hoping to induce drowsiness. Super Ted, sleepy dust. Focus on joy. The dust only seems to make Svrandkaz more agitated and sparkly. Svrandkaz, magic powder, good for energy. Barbarian is invigorated. He swings Spuds harder, taking out a window. Dawdle, exasperated, manages to reach the DJ booth. Dawdle, Trip, stop the fighting music. Play something calming. A lullaby. Trip, no chance. Need maximum hype. Dawdle headbutts the speaker system. The music cuts out with a distorted screech. In the sudden momentary lull, Cavi, Carmel, and Constance, who had remained coolly observing the carnage, decide to make their exit. Constance, I think this is where we casually slip away. Carmel Bunny, picking up her shoes. Indeed, never stick around for the cleanup. Cavi, especially when the groom is wearing cake. They elegantly step over the prone body of Charlie. Jonathan sees them leaving, then looks down at the bloodied, unconscious Charlie. He feels a moment of profound satisfaction, then adrenaline rush gives way to weary shame. Jonathan, done. My work here is done. He collapses onto a nearby bench, breathing heavily. The Three Gables is a ruin. Cake is smeared everywhere. Spuds is stuck headfirst in a broken drum kit. Joe is nursing his arm. Nat is sitting up, looking dazed. Sfrand Kaz is asleep standing up. Bethany is standing over Charlie's body, holding a decorative silver tray. Bethany, quietly, Daniel, could you fetch me the stiffest drink you have, and a taxi to the airport? Daniel Nate, staring at the ruin, flatly, sure. Bethany, on the house. We have plenty of stiff drinks. And broken dreams. Aunt Margaret and Uncle Jeff are huddled together, rocking. Aunt Margaret, we shall never speak of this again. Never. We are leaving Rye immediately. Bill Clutterbuck. To Pat. Well, that escalated quickly. Pat Clifton. Bill. Another typical Saturday. Still, at least the post got delivered this morning. Small mercies. Toad detangles himself from the tablecloth. His velvet suit now torn. Toad, wringing his hands. My beautiful reception. Ruined. Utterly ruined. Who will pay for the damages? Jonathan, from the bench. I'll settle the tab. Toad, just send the itemized bill to Charlie. Tell him it's his first divorce payment. Dick Spanner walks up to Daniel at the bar. Dick Spanner VO. The happy couple was anything but. The father of the bride had delivered a powerful message via orthopedic trauma. The flirts were nursing their wounds. In Rye, the weddings were always more dramatic than the murders. Dick Spanner got a light. Bartender, Daniel Nate, lighting Dick Spanner's figurative cigarette. That, Dick, was maybe the worst day of my life since I woke up in this. Whatever this is. Dick Spanner you're stuck here, kid. You're trapped in this chaotic dreamscape, watching the circus spin. But here's the thing about Rye. You never run out of drama, and someone always needs a drink afterwards. Daniel Nate, I just want to go home. Dick Spanner we all do, son. But until then, keep the scotch flowing. It's what keeps this whole nightmare running on time. Bethany looks at Charlie, then at her father, then at the wreckage. She smiles. A single, genuine, exhausted smile. Bethany, right. Daniel, make that a double. And call me a private jet.